Uh-oh, are 9800X3Ds now burning up? One Redditor user says yes.
Hey, Jay. Jay. Jay.
What?
We got work to do.
Yeah, I'm playing World of Warships. Yeah. World of Warships is the free-to-play naval strategy game where you command the most iconic and famous warships from World War I and World War II, recreated with stunning detail and accuracy. Build your fleet while participating in various game types while upgrading your ship's arsenal along the way. New players who sign up using my link below will receive an exclusive starter pack to get you up and running quickly by receiving 7 days premium time, 1 million credits, 300 doubloons, and the Tier 5 premium ship, the Exeter. So what are you guys waiting for? Start sinking ships with World of Warships by heading to the description below and getting your freebies. If there's one thing we've learned about product launches, it's anything and everything can and does seem to go wrong. Obviously, all of the internet right now is abuzz about the 9800X3D and this one Redditor user and his MAG X870 Tomahawk Wi-Fi board literally burning up. You can see the scorch marks. We'll look at the photos now. If you look at the CPU itself on the bottom, you can actually see the scorch marks right down the middle. Obviously, if you take a look at the motherboard as well, you can see there's all kinds of scorching and such going on right there. So let's talk about this, because now with the 4090 having gone up in smoke many times, 13900K, 1400Ks having gone up in smoke, and 7950Xs, 7950X3D, 7900X3Ds and all them also were literally melting and popping. It seems like we can't get away from a launch that has some sort of drama when it comes to power and melting itself. So we're gonna talk about this today, put some of your minds at ease, because a lot of the debate that's going on right here, and a lot of these articles too, are extremely sensationalized. I guess mine included, because the title of this is probably something like, uh-oh, 9800X3D catching fire, or whatever, I don't know. Hate the game, not the player. It's not my fault that titles have to be this way to get people to freaking click on things on YouTube. But anyway, I digress, moving on. This one is very much smarking spabate. Ooh, Spumoni ice cream. I haven't had that in a while.
All right, anyway. Jeez,
it's too early for ice cream. It's never too early for ice cream. It's fat o'clock somewhere.
I had a burger for breakfast, so whatever.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. The debate here is whether or not this is a defect or if this is a user error. Here's the one thing we kind of have going on the side of the 9800X3D is the fact that this socket has been around now since 2022. This is the X870E is using the same AM5 socket that we've seen before. So it's not like this is something new for Foxconn or whoever else is making the sockets for them. This has been around for a bit. The CPU is obviously new. Now, obviously with this being an unlocked CPU and the first time we're seeing X3Ds being allowed to overclock, there's like, oh, is this now a flaw in the X3D? Is this something we're gonna start seeing in the future? When it comes to deduction here of trying to figure out whether this is user error or a design flaw, there's a very telling piece of evidence in the photos that the user himself provided. The user is kind of portraying he's a victim here, in kind of a thing, right? The wording is very much like, oh, look what happened to my brand new build, blah, 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 blah. Unfortunately for him, and Steve has apparently reached out to him to buy the CPU. I'm conflicted on that. I know Steve wants to do like third-party failure analysis and stuff on that. I also feel like AMD needs to be able to get their hands on it as well, but there's obviously a trust dynamic there. Do we trust the brands to be forthcoming with the evidence or even come up with the evidence quick enough? Because we've seen how long it took NVIDIA to do anything, say anything, respond, and still kind of hasn't even truly responded in any way regarding the problem being anything to do with them, right? They just want to be as hands-off as possible. Intel took two years almost to really talk about and identify and be forthcoming and transparent. And were they ever going to be transparent if it wasn't for third-party analysis and third-party companies looking into this stuff and really diving deep into it to put the pressure on them? So I can understand why Steve wants the CPU because we don't trust the brands, to be honest. That's the real reason there. But there's only one so far. So if more start to pop up, that is going to be a bigger issue, obviously. Because there's always the smoking gun, right? This is the smoking gun. No pun intended. Is it smoking because of the user error? I believe right now, at least as of right now, that this is user error. And the reason for that, if you look at the socket picture and you zoom in, you can see that the socket itself is actually damaged. And what I mean by that is not the pins or any of that. I mean the plastic frame around it. So let's go ahead and take a look right here. You can see, we'll put a side by side with the photo versus what a fresh, unused socket looks like. This is an unused board. We have not used this board for anything yet. So a lot of the damage in the melting, or not melting, but the charring is right in the center pins. And I bet you if you were to take a look at a pinout diagram, you could probably map the charring specifically with voltage pinouts. Because some of these are data, some of them are voltage, some are grounds. So I bet you can find that there are correlations specifically with voltage for the CPU itself. But if you look over here, we're keyed, right? We have these two keys right here that allow you to put the CPU in only one way. So if I take this Ryzen CPU right here, so those are intended to keep the CPU from going in the wrong way. But I'm wondering if maybe he initially tried to put it in, so you can't even get it to start to go into the socket the wrong way. What if it was backwards? Actually, look at that. You can get it to start to go in the wrong way. Enough to maybe think, because if we look now, because of the way the tabs are, the corner is up on this lip right here. Now, the way that his lip is damaged makes me feel like he tried to close the lid with it in there the wrong way, or it wasn't seated properly and potentially stripped this plastic piece right here. Now, what that could have intentionally or unintentionally done is once you put the CPU back in the correct way, if there's a little piece of plastic right here keeping this side from seating down all the way, now the pins are not going to be making great contact. Remember, these are spring-loaded, these are spring pins. So what happens is, let's say this is the pin right here. The CPU goes down on it. It's supposed to push pressure against the pin. And that pressure back against the CPU pad gives good contact. But now if we're not making good contact, we're just sort of barely touching it because it's lifted, it kind of then brings in the problem that we saw with 4090, which is where if those power pins are not fully seated and they're crooked or they're not making good contact, it increases the resistance across that connection, which increases the temperature and the draw. That's what potentially happened here. So I don't think we have a, I'm going to seat this all the way to protect the socket. I don't think we have an issue here or a smoking gun that there's a defect with the socket. I don't think this is necessarily even a defect with the CPU at all. I guess we just need some forthcoming honesty from the Redditor to say whether or not, hey, did you try and latch that down and it wouldn't go and you realized, oh, it was in there wrong and you put it in there the right way? Because that is the biggest piece of evidence right here, is that physically damaged socket. And you can tell by looking at it, just it looks like something caught the lip and just like bent it down and cracked it. And now that you have that piece that's like split and sticking out, that's gonna keep the CPU from seating down all the way. So I don't think this one's gonna take a whole lot of research to really figure out what happened here. The only other potential saving grace for this user could be if he swears everything went correctly the first time. That could have been a defective piece of plastic. But that's the kind of stuff that should hopefully be caught when they go through their manufacturing scanner, because the scanner is supposed to take a photo. And it's not just a photo of like, is every SMD where it's supposed to be on the board? It's supposed to be, is anything out of spec or out of range of where it's expected to be? And I would hope that when it does a detailed photo of the pin array, that it would catch that piece of plastic sticking out. But I think this one's pretty easy to really determine that it's not a problem specifically with the CPU or a design flaw. I think this one was either a defective socket from the factory with that piece of plastic not letting it sit down all the way, or it was user error by putting it in the wrong way. It's kind of funny, that was the general consensus too with the 4090, was that it was user error. Now there is a rule of thumb when it comes to user error. If a user can generate error within normal usage of the product, that is a design problem. However, I could put that CPU in there upside down and probably jam the latch closed hard enough and then say, well, it's not my problem because I was allowed to do it. So there is some variance and grace that has to be given when it comes to what's really considered allowable user error versus a design flaw. I don't think this is a design flaw. I think if it was, we would have seen this pop up already in the past. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see now what happens in the future and if more of these start showing up this way. The 9800X3D draws about the same power as like a 7950X or a 9950X that's not overclocked or anything. So I don't think it's like suddenly ridiculous power draw that's causing these sorts of problems. For the 5th time in this video, I'm saying I think this one is user error. Anyway, you guys sound off down below because we know you all are jury members in the court of public opinion. So I think all the Intel fanboys are like, gee, ha ha, AMD sucks. And then all the AMD fanboys are like, yeah, but 285 still exists, so ha ha to you, and 1300K and 1400K, and just fight down below. I'm not even gonna tell you not to anymore. You don't listen to me. But I think we're fine on this one. I don't think there's gonna be any sort of, I don't think there's gonna be any ahas or gotchas in this analysis. I'm still curious though. And I know Steve will probably do this if he gets to do the analysis on it, or at least use his third-party analysis company to do it. I'm wondering if those ones that really smoked are directly the power pins. It would make sense, right? All right, there you go. You probably don't have anything to worry about with your Ryzen CPUs, other than just make sure you are seating them correctly the first time. But now that we know, if you could, assuming that he did it wrong, that you could potentially shave a layer of that plastic off and have it get in the way, look for that. Because here's the thing, if I take this back out real quick, it's not big. It looks big on a photo because you can blow it up. That's what she said. Okay, well, you know, that is a very tiny piece of plastic right there. And if it was to split, you probably would not notice it. So when putting in your CPU, zero insertion force is a saying for a reason. It's not just a sexual innuendo. You wanna make sure that it's down, and it's got a little wiggle. If it doesn't have that little wiggle, then it's probably not in there correctly, because that little wiggle is kind of the telltale sign. If it was like really firm and not wanting to move around, then I would start making sure there's no debris or anything in your perimeter of your socket there. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Just wanted to get this out there and kind of head off any of the whole like, oh my God, you know, the sky is falling types of comments, because I really don't think that's what we're dealing with here. I think this is just unfortunately user error that was broadcasted to the world just to get pointed back at you going, you fricked it up, bro.